Good morning, Internet, and welcome back to another video. Today we're covering 3D, and if you're watching this right now, that means that you are brand new to 3D, and you want to know what is the best way that I can get started. I want to watch movies in 3D, maybe even make my own content in 3D, and maybe hypothetically even play games in 3D. With us right now is our 3D expert, Jonathan Sabin, who knows everything about 3D. He's literally taught me basically everything I've known. He's even helped me get this camera and everything, and like, oh my gosh, I've never met somebody who knows more about film and 3D in my entire life. So, welcome, Jonathan. This is your channel.
How's it going?
I don't know why I'm saying welcome, but...
Well, it's going to be on your channel too, right?
Yeah. We'll figure it out. So, all right, great. By the way, this is also being recorded in 3D. So to see that, go ahead and click in the description below, and then you can see it in 3D. So, Jonathan, if I am someone who, let's say I just saw Doctor Strange Into the Multiverse of Madness, or I'm planning to go see Avatar 2, or I just saw the re-release of the original Avatar, and I'm like, this is cool, I want to get this in my home. What do you think would be the easiest way to just get started?
Well, at this point, there's two options that I think are the easiest. I know everybody's probably heard at this point that they stopped making 3D TVs, but I know in my local region, you can always get 3D TVs used locally on the Facebook Marketplace and other similar places like that.
Yeah, I've seen Facebook Marketplace, pretty good. So how do you know if a glasses would be compatible?
If you're looking for a TV that's either that uses passive glasses, those are the type that they use at the movie theater typically. They don't use batteries. They're lightweight. Those are usually made by LG or Vizio.
Oh, I didn't know Vizio. I didn't know they had 3D TVs.
Yeah, they did. They stopped right before they started making 4K TVs. So, but all the Vizios were passive.
Dude, 4K was so lame to me. Like when 4K came out, I'm like, okay, cool, but where's the 4K 3D? And honestly, my eyes aren't even like the greatest. So like, I'll still, if a movie is released in 2D, like I'll still get the 4K version rather than just Blu-ray version. But I don't know, it's just like 3D is just magical. I love it. Yeah,
3D is definitely the bigger jump in where you notice the change. And speaking of 4K, you really notice it when you use a projector because you got a huge screen. And speaking of projectors, that's the other way you can get 3D into your home. They never stopped making 3D projectors. Those are the current 3D TVs. But yeah, there's lots of projectors to choose from. You can get around the $500 mark. You can get 1080p projectors. Spend a little bit more, you can get at least twice as more. You get 4K 3D HDR as well.
What would you say would be, if I'm completely brand new and I'm on a budget, what is the cheapest possible way that you say would be most reliable for the money, including glasses and like everything?
Right. Well, if you get a projector, you'd have to get a screen as well if you want the best picture, as opposed to just a wall. So I would say the cheapest possible way.
But you can always get like a screen afterwards, right? Like if I was
if you wanted to try it out. Yeah, it doesn't hurt.
Okay.
I would say that probably the cheapest possible way would be to look for a used 3D TV on the local marketplace.
Mm-hmm. How much do they normally go for?
I've been watching that market for like 5 years now, pretty regular, just out of curiosity. I've bought a few, sold a few.
Sold a few?
Yeah.
How many screens do you have?
Currently, I just have two. I have my projector, and I have a 4K 3D TV, Samsung TV, that I use as a computer monitor.
I'm so jealous. I want a 4K TV so bad. I was searching for one for so long and just gave up and got a projector.
Yeah, no, that's the caveat there. Those are hard to find, even on the used market. So.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the 3D screen. Now, what would be the easiest way to get a Blu-ray 3D player?
There are lots of Blu-ray 3D players to choose from. They never really stopped making those because, like I said, the projectors have always been made, so they've always made the disc players available. The latest ones, you can play 4K discs as well. I actually wrote an article about that last year with some of my recommendations. I'll put a link to that in the description below.
And not even to mention that every PlayStation 3, PS4, PS4 Pro is also a Blu-ray 3D player, and on Xbox you could do it with an Xbox One, Xbox One S, and Xbox One X. So odds are you probably have one of those lying around, and that is already a really great Blu-ray 3D player. And by the way, if you were to get an Xbox One S or Xbox One X, it is also a 4K Blu-ray player as well, in addition to the Blu-ray 3D one. Because I'm sure you had like friends and family that like you convinced to get like 3D TVs and stuff, like I have.
I've tried to, but I can honestly say I've never been successful.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I preach it.
I got my mom to do it, and but she wouldn't buy a player. She had a 3D TV, but she wouldn't buy a player. I'm like, oh my gosh! I'm like, just get a player, and I finally just bought her a PS3 last Christmas, so now she has one. Okay, great. So now you got your screen, you got your player. What are the best movies to get in 3D, and how would you even get them in 3D? Like, can you stream it, or where do you get them?
Well, I wouldn't recommend beginners worrying about streaming. For one thing, it's really not good quality, half the resolution, heavily compressed, and it's pretty hard to figure out how to do it, even for me and other 3D fans.
Great. Okay, so Blu-ray 3D is definitely the easiest way.
Yes.
Okay. And if you were to have people over to like impress them, to show off the 3D capabilities, what would be some of the best movies that you would suggest to get first if you're brand new to this?
Well, there's the one great thing is that with 3D, there's more releases than most people probably know even exist. There's literally 3D for every taste, every genre, no matter what you're interested in, it's there. One thing many people probably already know about is realistic nature documentaries, like Imax has made many, and there's really a lot of nature films. Here's one, Wonders of the Arctic. You've got 4K and 3D in the same pack. And one thing probably most people have seen in their personal experiences, 3D animated films. Like since 2005 with Disney's Chicken Little, like virtually every animated film has been released in 3D in theaters. And a lot of those, not all of them unfortunately, but a lot of them have been released on Blu-ray 3D. Like one of the most popular of all time, Frozen, right there.
I love that one. That was, and unfortunately, that was the first one that was not released in the United States. And I'm like, what the heck? What happened? So can you describe what happened to Blu-ray 3Ds in the United States?
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up. Unfortunately, a lot of major studios stopped releasing Blu-ray 3Ds around the time of Frozen. But that doesn't mean they're not available. You can still go online to Amazon, to eBay, and you can buy these movies, usually from the UK or other places, and they're pretty cheap. Sometimes they're even cheaper than US versions.
Oh, really?
And you can buy them used or new. For instance, Frozen is one of those. You notice the packaging looks a little different. This was released in the UK. And along that line, one thing to watch out for, it's not too often, but it does happen sometimes, is some movies will only be released in what's called Region B. And that means if you have a player from the United States, it won't play on it, unless you have a region-free Blu-ray player.
Would you suggest to buy that instead of just any other Blu-ray 3D player?
If you want to have access to all the 3D films you can, and many 2D films as well that aren't available in all regions, and that's a great choice for a film lover because it opens up a lot. It does cost a little more though. Again, in that link below, I recommend some affordable ones.
Would that be in the description?
Yeah.
What are some examples of movies that are Region B that you definitely would need a region-free Blu-ray player for?
Like I said, most aren't, thankfully, but you can always check the description, like on Amazon, or better yet, Blu-ray.com, that has an archive of pretty much every Blu-ray that's been released. One Disney exception is Ratatouille from Pixar. Some places that's even listed as Region A, but it is in fact locked to Region B. So
I remember
for
having to
that.
buy that one. I bought that one, it wouldn't play. And then, Jonathan, I bought a region-free player, and then I put it in, and it wasn't region-free. It was locked.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what the hell? So,
Yeah, the thing with region-free players is they're not plug and play, so to speak, for lack of a better term. The DVDs from different regions will, but Blu-rays won't. They're all hacked. They don't sell any native region-free players. They're hacked in some way. So it'll usually come with instructions, and you have to enter a certain code when you turn the player on, and that'll switch regions for you. Another notable exception would be the latest Spider-Man movie, No Way Home. That's region B locked as well.
Yeah. You have to have that one in your collection. There's no way you can't have that one. We know that Disney is starting to push for 3D just a little bit more in the theaters, mostly because of Avatar coming out. So they ramped it up for Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness. And Avatar is going to be coming out. There's like 4 movies lined up that are already practically finished, coming out for like the next decade or so. So like we know that at least for the next decade, that 3D is going to be pushed because James Cameron is going to make it be pushed.
Right.
So I think that now's a great time to just ride that wave and get it back to where it was. Because at least what from my perspective, and Jonathan, I want to know your opinion on this. I think when 3D first came out, a lot of people thought it would be bigger than it was. And people don't like things pushed upon them. I feel like a lot of people felt that with 3D. And so there was literally a pushback of like people like, I do not want 3D. It's like, well, 3D is an option. Like you don't need to see it in 3D. Right. But like you shouldn't say like don't make it in 3D, right? Mm-hmm. So that's not fair. But there was such a pushback that now 3D is so low in demand that the people who like it really like it. And so now it's starting to ramp up again. And so I'm starting to feeling that this time around, I think they're right now like discovering where 3D is gonna stay in the market, because we've known throughout history 3D has come and gone, but a lot of people like to say, oh well, 3D died in 2013 or whatever. Like no it didn't. Like it's what do you mean? Like almost every movie that has been released in 3D has come out in 3D Blu-ray, and there hasn't been a year that has not had the 3D movies since.
Right, as far as the common public is concerned, if it's not in a primetime commercial, it doesn't exist, I guess.
So like 3D's still been around, but I think now, ever since is it digital 3D like versus anaglyph?
The current iteration of digital 3D came in 2005. When RealD started installing their projector attachments and also shutter glasses as well in some theaters. But like you said, it wasn't widespread. It was very few and far between. In 2005, that first film was Chicken Little. And then with Avatar and other movies like Bolt around that time, that's when it started really snowballing and becoming available everywhere.
Yeah. So my hope is that through this next decade, because we know for sure 3D is going to be pushed with Avatar for the next 4 movies, that 3D is going to find its place. I don't think it's going to take off as much as they thought it was going to in 2011, where it's going to be on like every display ever. I would love for that to happen.
Yeah.
But that would be our dream. But
realistically.
What's that?
But realistically.
Well, yeah, but realistically, I think it's gonna find its place where the people that like it, and the people that think they don't. And I know this is like a tutorial of like how to get into 3D, but can I just rant for a second? Everyone who says that 3D hurts their eyes, no, it doesn't. Like I'm like. Anytime anyone ever has said, oh, 3D hurts my eyes, I'm like, really? Come over to my place. Let me show you my projector. You tell me if it hurts your eyes. I'm willing to bet there's no flipping way that 3D hurts your eyes. And I'll throw in like Infinity War or something. And then they're like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And I'm like, does it hurt your eyes? Like, no. I'm like, okay. Like, I'm like, can we, Jonathan, can you squash this? Why do people think 3D hurts their eyes?
Well, I can't be too dogmatic because obviously I can't see what they're seeing. Some of it just might be the simple fact of not getting accustomed to it, or maybe a physical shortcoming such as astigmatism, or maybe they've just had bad theatrical experiences. Because I know for a fact when I went to some theaters earlier in the digital 3D era, there were several times where they just really messed up the presentation in multiple ways. It was either extremely dark, sometimes it was out of sync, or double image. Sometimes projectionists just don't know what they're doing. So it could be any one of those things.
I grew up in Chicago, and over there, I can count more than 10 times that I've had to walk out of a theater because the 3D was broken. And I had to tell them, if your 3D is broken, go fix it. And most of the time, they fixed it. I'm going to say 1/4 of the time, relatively, they just didn't believe me.
Right.
They're like, no, it's fine. We checked it earlier. I'm like, no, no. This happened when I saw Spider-Man No Way Home. This is the most recent one. This was opening night, and it ticked me off because no one else in the theater knows what I'm talking about when like the 3D isn't working. And also, to be fair, in like the 80s and whatnot, there was a lot of movies that had strong parallax.
Yep.
And from your reviews, some of them weren't even aligned.
Right. Well, all the 3D movies of the 80s were made on film. It wasn't easy like with a computer nowadays. So, right, like you said, alignment, vertical misalignment, which doesn't exist in real life. It will hurt your eyes every time.
That's so sad.
So if somebody saw 3D movies in the 80s and they said it hurts their eyes, well, in that case, I believe them.
Yeah.
Because that's just the way it was. And sometimes in the 50s too, if they didn't do it right.
What if I saw Spy Kids in theaters or Shark Boy and Lava Girl?
Excellent point. Yes, that was just before digital 3D took off. So at that point, they were using anaglyph glasses, red and blue, and that can strain your eyes over the course of a full movie.
Those are my very first 3D movies when I was a kid. And even then, even with anaglyph, when that came out, I'm like, I want to make 3D movies. That's what I want to do.
Likewise.
And people thought, like, oh, it hurts my eyes. I'm like, I don't care. Like, and I didn't even know such digital 3D would ever come out. I just thought that anaglyph was going to be the way it was, and there was no other way to do it. So, I remember, actually, Jonathan, do you remember what your first 3D movie was?
Yes, it was Bolt.
Oh, really?
And I saw that at my local theater. They started out using shutter glasses, so that's
you
what I
didn't see
used.
Spy Kids?
Not at the theater. I saw that later.
At home?
Yeah, yeah. Right.
In 3D?
Yeah, anaglyph.
Okay. I guess that's what I meant. Like, what was your very first, not at the theater, like very first 3D movie?
Yes, I did see Spy Kids, and I know I've seen other 3D short subjects and images and other things like that. It always fascinated me. I had some 3D Spy Kids comic books and some holographic stickers that always fascinated me, and a 3D Incredible Hulk comic from the 90s.
Oh, really?
That came with bubblegum. So I had a 3D collection going even before I knew what 3D really was. I just knew I liked it. Nice.
Yeah, I actually, so after Spy Kids, I actually did have a negative impression of 3D going into 2009 when they really started to push it. I remember Coraline came out and they're like 3D, and I'm like, I don't want to see it in 3D with anaglyph glasses. That's what I thought it was, and I think a lot of people at the time still
when Chicken
thought
Little
all
came
movies
out,
were anaglyph.
Yeah, when Chicken Little came out, I thought it was going to be an anaglyph. I didn't even know what digital 3D was yet.
Yeah.
That was, yeah.
So I said no to Coraline in 3D because I thought it was going to be Amglyph, and then because that's all I understood that 3D was.
Right.
And then Monsters vs. Aliens came out the same year in 3D, and then I saw it in 2D, and I hated that movie. But then I just saw a commercial that was like, you have to see it in 3D, it'll blow your mind. And then I'm like, I don't really want to see it again. But then Pixar, I love Pixar, it's like Up is going to be the first Pixar 3D movie. I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, okay, I have to test to see how good the 3D is, because apparently this is going to be a thing. And then I saw Monsters vs. Aliens 3D, and it blew my mind. My mind was completely blown. I was like, this is like a magic trick. My dad and I, our jaws were dropped to the floor. I'm like, this is the coolest thing. This is going to change the world, I thought. I mean, yeah, it did. But like, you know.
It changed your world.
What's that?
It changed your world.
It changed our world. The world that we're creating.
Yes.
You know, the real 3D was the friends we made along the way.
Nice.
So, anyways, so we got a 3D screen, we got a 3D player, we got 3D movies. Well, Jonathan, what if I want to actually make 3D content? What if I'm a YouTuber, or maybe I just want to shoot some like home movies in 3D and have that magical experience? What would be the best way for me to get into making 3D videos?
Well, you can buy a 3D camera. They back when digital 3D started, they came out with a number of digital 3D cameras that you can buy on the used market, as well as ones more recently. One of the older ones that you can get for pretty cheap is from Sony. It's called the Bloggy 3D. It has two lenses, as you can see there. So just like your two eyes, it records in 3D in 1080p, and it's very, very easy to use. Super easy to use. And there's also been some mid-range ones if you want better quality and more options. Like the one I'm recording with is from JVC. They make a couple of models. And more recently, they just had a new 3D camera come out this year from Kucam Ego. And that has a nice wide stereo baseline for powerful depth, and it records in full HD. It also takes still pictures. Fuji, they also made a camera that also has really wide set lenses for powerful depth, takes stills and video. So yeah, there's a lot of options to choose from. Just go on eBay and see what they got. So I know you're a gamer. I'm not too familiar with gamers, so can you tell me, if you want to play a video game in 3D, what options do we have?
Yeah, that's a great question. So back in 2011, 2010, 2012, there was a big push for 3D games. And so the Xbox 360 is actually, even though it can't play 3D movies, it can play games in 3D. The PlayStation 3 can play 3D movies and also can play 3D games. And they are not shy about advertising a game being accessible in 3D. It's printed on all of the art really big that this game is 3D accessible. Probably one of the best ones would be Uncharted 3 on PlayStation 3. There is a very small number of PlayStation 4 games available in 3D, and I would probably recommend one that's called Fez. It's very interesting. It's a 2D flat platformer, but in 3D, it makes it so fascinating because things in 2D that are very pixelated actually come out, and so you can understand, oh, this is what the room actually looks like. Otherwise, it's just pixels that kind of just blend in with each other. And so, really fascinating game to play in 3D. When it comes to the PlayStation 3 and the PlayStation 4, the 3D is not fixed left and right images. The 3D image is actually created in real time. So you can actually adjust the parallax. And a lot of games have this built in as a feature in the game. However, there is a not so official way to adjust the parallax. And for whatever reason, Sony decided to have the parallax adjustment be within the actual PlayStation's menu. When you hook up PlayStation 3 or PlayStation 4 via HDMI to a 3D TV, the PlayStation will immediately recognize this is a 3D screen. And so it asks you, what is the size of your screen? And they will use that to determine how much of a parallax they would like to give. And to my understanding, because with a 3D movie, you can film it in such a way, and most movies are converted 3D, so you have full control over what is, in positive or negative parallax, so that it looks pleasing for the eyes. But video games don't have any control, because you could put the camera anywhere you want, and something might be really close and hurt your eyes or really far away. And so, unfortunately, they designed the games to have extremely small parallax, and most of them straight up just look 2D. And so when you set the screen to, which I think is why 3D in video games died so fast, but when you set it as the correct size of your screen, they will put very small parallax, and the bigger it is, the smaller the parallax is. I have a 120-inch projector, and when I play a 3D game, it literally just looks practically 2D. So what I would recommend is setting of a 30-inch screen, and that seems to be pretty good parallax without having your eyes like fall out of your head. Do not set it to like 15 inches or anywhere near there. Your mind will be completely blown out sideways for how insane the parallax is. So if you want a really intense parallax experience, you could go ahead and do that. Circles will definitely look like elongated ovals, and it will not look like real life at all. But you can definitely do that. But yeah, that would be the way that you can actually play games in 3D, and I still think it's really fun. And who knows if they ever come back with that. But they do have VR, actually. Oh my gosh, I totally forgot to mention. Yeah. A really easy way to, if you have PlayStation 4 and you have PlayStation VR, you can play Blu-ray 3D discs on your PlayStation 4 and it will play in VR. How do you think VR impacts 3D?
Well, I know they were trying to push it as the next big thing, kind of like they were pushing 3D, which, like you said, can lead to resentment in some. But again, that's a whole different beast. Different uses. I wouldn't say it's an ideal way to watch a movie, especially with friends, or ideal for optimal resolution, picture quality.
That is true. The PSVR is just a 1080p screen across your face, so you're already getting half the resolution in each eye. And not to mention, the 3D movie isn't taking up the full screen. They set you in what looks like a dark 3D theater, and then so it's probably really a significantly less resolution. However, if you just want to get started in 3D and you already have that lying around, my dad is in a situation where he can't find a 3D TV, and his room is too small to get a nice one or a projector. So he just watches it by himself, and so he doesn't really mind, and he throws on his VR and plays Blu-ray 3D discs, and he loves it. So that is an option if you just want to get started. So
right.
But yeah, otherwise we would definitely recommend a 3D TV or projector. I would say definitely projector, because you can get it from like Best Buy and get a warranty on it. Yeah. And because if it ever breaks or something goes wrong with it, you can get it replaced. All right, Jonathan. So what are you have any other thoughts that you want to put into this video, or?
Yeah, I'd say if you're curious about 3D, now's a great time to start getting into it. There's so many options for viewing it at home that are within most everybody's budget. And we already mentioned there's documentaries you can watch, animated movies, but also so much more. There's plenty of old movies like from the 50s and 80s that are still being restored and released as we speak. New ones coming out every month. And brand new movies, the biggest blockbusters, like you got the Jurassic Park series, the original Jurassic Park that was converted to 3D, and it's a very high quality conversion, by the way, one of the best. And
Really? I never seen that. I didn't know.
Yeah.
But only the first one, not the other one?
The first one, the second two, Lost World and Jurassic Park 3, those are 2D. But then the new series, Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and then the new one that's going to be coming to IMAX 3D this summer, Dominion, all 3D. So yeah, it's a great time to get into it, catch up on those, binge those in 3D before the new one.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to Blu-ray 3D, when 3D first came out, there was like, well, there's not a lot of 3D content that's out there. Now there is. There's a ton, right? So now is a really great time to dive in. And they're pretty darn cheap, like relatively for a dead format. Normally I would expect, because of them not continuing to manufacture them, that I would expect prices to rise.
Yeah.
But they haven't. 3D movies are pretty darn cheap, so you can get them no problem. Oh yeah, and IMAX 3D. So apparently IMAX 3D was discontinued in 2018, but then they decided to bring it back for Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness.
No.
No, that's not true.
Well, I wouldn't say discontinued. It just sort of went to the back burner. It was still there. It was available in most regions up until the pandemic. The last IMAX 3D movie I saw was Rise of Skywalker in late 2019.
Oh, really?
Which was thankfully made it right in before the pandemic.
Okay, so since 2019 then. Okay.
It seemed to have been gone from the United States during 2020 and 2021, but then, like you said, pleasantly surprised to see it come back this year.
Awesome. So if you aren't ready to dive in with a 3D TV yet, or a player or whatnot, honestly, I'd be surprised if you don't already have a player lying around with a PlayStation or an Xbox. But if you don't have that and you just want to go experience 3D, just go to the movies, check it out in IMAX, because it is so cool.
A lot of movies coming out. It looks like IMAX 3D is back in full force. Like I said, Jurassic World Dominion and Lightyear.
Like, what does format for IMAX even mean?
They have a very specific aspect ratio. A lot of it is marketing hype, in my personal opinion. But
that's what I thought.
The good thing is
it's not 16 by 9.
No, it's taller. But the good thing is that IMAX is at least somewhat of a guarantee of quality, because sometimes quality can vary at other theaters. I'm fortunate to be in an area where my local theater is bright and has stadium seating and is calibrated well. So in my opinion, it almost rivals IMAX, but that's not the case everywhere. So at least IMAX is sort of a touchstone of quality, and that's good that so many blockbusters are being released that way this year.
Awesome. And by the way, if you want to check out some of my other 3D videos, is going to be right here in the top right corner. And then to see another one, there's going to be one right here in the top left corner. But that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you very much. And until next time, later days.